Good day, learners. It's me again, Miss Bethel. So our goal for this session is to hasten your understanding about summation notation and, of course, to improve your mastery and applying those understanding by solving various problem sets. I have here data set number 2. So the first thing that we need to know is the number of rows. So I've already mentioned in our previous learning videos that in terms of rows, we are actually taking the values that were positioned horizontally. So from side to side. And in terms of columns, the values that were positioned vertically or up until down, the very last value. So here we have 9 rows. So going back, so we have here the first row, the second row, the third row, the fourth row, the fifth one, sixth, and until the very last row, which is the ninth row. So there are 9 rows in this two-way table. After getting the number of rows, we need to count the number of columns. So we have 4 columns. So column A, the first column B is the second column C is the third column, and column D is the fourth column. Since we already identified the number of rows and the number of columns, we need to know the values that are specified by the following location or position. What is x3, 4? Or again, in other literatures, there's no comma. It's just x3, 4. But again, the first value denotes the row and the second value denotes the columns. So x3, 4 is read as the value of x found in row 3, column 4. So let's try to find the intersection. So here it is. So row 3 and column 4, the value specified by that specific location is 18. So the answer is 18. The second one is x5, 2. So row 5, column 2. So the answer is 14. Bakit siya naging 14? It's because row 5, so first row, second row, third row, fourth row, and fifth row. And then, ang sinasaad dito ay second column. So first column and then second column. So the answer for this is 14. Or simply saying, the value that it corresponds is 14. So ano yung position? It's x52. Or fifth row, second column. Tapos yung huli ay, what is the value found in x? Again, x po is just a variable. It's a dummy variable. So you could use any other letter found in the alphabet. You could use A, B, up to Z, or kahit N pa or NG pa yung gamitin mo. As long as that is your set of variable. So for this one, it's row 7. So first row, second row, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7. So nandito daw sa row na ito ang value. At saka yung ating column ay 3. So the answer for that is 32. Kasi po, yung intersection ay row 7 at saka column 3. So that's our answer. So I am assuming po na magaling na tayo mag-identify ng mga values na sinasaad ng mga position at mag-count ng number of rows at number of columns. These are very basic. You should know this by heart, no? Hindi lang po by mind. Kasi for sure, it will bring you an accurate answer if you happen to know these things. Since you're master already in identifying locations, specifying values, reading and understanding two-way table, so it's high time now for you to answer summation notation. So we have here, the first summation is summation of xm3 as m goes from 1 to 4. So the first thing that we need to do is dissect the parts. So we have here the sigma sign. This is our formula of the term xm3. And then the summation index that we use is m. So it ranges from the first value up to the fourth value. Again, m2 dito ay ang ating row. At saka yung 3 natin ay ang ating column. So to answer this, okay, so we need to identify xm. Ang m daw ay row. So rows 1 to 4. So let's count. Let's find this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Ibig sabihin, nasa mga values na ito ang part ng dataset. But let's try to check the column. So, ang sinasaad dito ay 3 or third column. Ibig sabihin, 1, 2, at saka 3. Ito lang po yung kasali specifically sa ating dataset. Rows 1 to 4, column 3. So, the answer is 54. Because if we're going to expand the summation notation, it looks like this. X1, 3. So, it's row 1, column 3. Row 2, column 3. So, here's the position. Row 3, column 3. And then, row 4, column 3. So, we already find the location. We then specify the values corresponding to each position. So, X13 or first row, third column is 23. That's why we have written here 23. And then X23 or second row, third column is 6. So, simply write 6 here. X33 is third row, column 3, it's 12. Kaya 12 din dito. And then X4, column 3 is 13. So 3 plus 6 plus 12 plus 13 is equal to 54. Now, the summation of XM3 as M goes from 1 to 4 is equal to 54. Actually po, paulit-ulit na po nating sinasabi yung positions, yung specifying the values. So I hope by now, you're ready. Okay? You're more than ready for our higher thinking skills. The second summation notation that we need to answer is the opposite lang, ano? So here we have used M as row and 3 as column. In the second example, we will be using 3 for row and M for the column. So it's summation of X3M as M goes from 1 to 4. So it's just the opposite of the first equation. It's because in the first equation, the column has been stated. It's constant. It's 3. But in the second equation or summation, we use 3 for the row. So it's fixed already na ang dapat kukunin natin ng data ay yung nasa row 3 lang. Hence, we need to know the range for the column. So it's from 1 to 4. So to expand this summation notation, kasi nga, di ba, third row. So 3 and then columns 1 to 4. So column 1, that's why we have here. Your X3, third row, second column. X3, 3, third row, third column. And then X3, 4, third row, fourth column. So the positions have been identified. Now we are going to specify the values. So X31 is 2, X32 is 10, X33 is 12, and X34 is 18. So 2 plus 10 plus 12 plus 18 is equals to 42. We'll try to compare the difference between the two because, again, pinagpalit lang po natin yung variable for the rows and columns. So summation of XM3 as M goes from 1 to 4 is equal to 54. So ito po yun, the rectangle represented by dashed lines. Kasi nga, di ba, isang column lang yung ating ginamit, the third column. Pero yung rows ay 1, 2, 3, at saka 4. For the second summation is, it's summation of X3M as M goes from 1 to 4. So here, we are only limited to using the datasets found in the third row. But the column ranges from the first column to the fourth column, the values. I'm referring to the values. So this is the rectangle represented by the dotted line, and it's equal to 42. So actually, we're almost done. So now it's your turn to do the calculation. What is summation of XMN as M goes from 3 to 5 and N goes from 2 to 4? And the other way around, we have another example here. What is the summation of XMN? Still, it's the same, the same variable used as M goes from 7 to 9 and N goes from 2 to 3. So let's try to compute for this one. So ito na po yun. So summation of XMN as M goes from 3 to 5 and N goes from 2 to 4. So, saan ba dito? Anong variable? Ang nire-represent niya ay ang row. Okay, it's M. At saka yung variable naman na nagre-represent ng column ay ang N. So, alam natin, ang gagamitin natin na data set ay yung nasa M, third hanggang fifth row. At saka yung nasa column, second hanggang fourth column. So, hanapin muna natin siya sa ating two-way table. So, sabi ay third row. So, third, fourth, fifth. At saka yung column ay second to fourth. So, second column B, third column C, and fourth column is D. So, madali na po siya. Kaso, kailangan pa natin i-expand yung ating notation kasi we need to follow statistical procedures to come up with the correct answer. Remember, solution matters. Okay, complete solution, highlighting complete. Okay. So, in our previous learning videos, I've told you how to deal with double summation notation by dealing first with the right-hand sign. But at this point, I am also teaching you how to do it using the left hand. Okay? Bali, uunahin muna natin yung nasa left-hand side. So, sabi sa left hand, rows daw ay from 3 to 5. So, bale, ang M ay rows. So, ipa-plug in lang naman natin yung mga values. So, summation of x3n as n goes from 2 to 4. So, kopyahin lang natin yung nasa column. Plus, summation of x4n as n goes from 2 to 4. Plus, summation of x5n as n goes from 2 to 4. So, kompleto na bale. Bale, na-expand na natin yung nasa left-hand side. Ngayon naman, i-expand pa natin ito using the right-hand sign. Ano ba yung pinapahiwatig ng nasa right-hand notation? So, x3, n, yung columns. So, dapat daw yung nasa second column hanggang sa fourth column yung gagamitin mga values. So, this is the expanded form of this first notation. So, it's x row 3 column 2. So, x row 3 column 2, x row 3 column 3, and x row 3 column 4. Tapos, yung second naman na notation ay summation of x4n as n goes from 2 to 4. It's dealing mostly with data in the fourth row, but starting with the second column up to the fourth column. So, x row 4 column 2, x row 4 column 3, at saka x row 4 column 4. And lastly, for this notation, summation of x5n as n goes from 2 to 4. So, fifth row, tsaka starting with the second column again, up until the last column, which is 4. So, summation of x5n as n goes from 2 to 4 is x row 5 column 2, x row 5 column 3, at saka x row 5 column 4. So, tapos na po tayo. Ito na ba yung final answer? Of course not. It's not yet the final answer. We need to specify the values corresponding to those location or position. So, hanapin na natin. Kasi ito po, nagsiserve lang po ito ng mga guides. Okay? They're actually locators of the specific values. Value found at the third row, second column is 10. It's reflected here. The third row at saka third column, it's 12. Third row at saka fourth column, it's 18. Second part of the parenthesis, focusing on the fourth row, starting with the second column. 17, this is fourth row, second column. 13 is fourth row, third column. At saka 16 ay fourth row, fourth column. And lastly, for the fifth row, starting again with the second column until the fourth column. 14, its position is, we have the fifth row and the second column. 15 is fifth row, third column. Saka lastly, for this part, fifth row, fourth column, it's 20. So 10 plus 12 plus 18 is equal to 40. 17 plus 13 plus 16, that's 46. 14 plus 15 plus 20, the answer is 49. So getting the summation of those three terms, 40 plus 46 plus 49, the answer is 100. 35. So summation of xmn as m goes from 3 to 5 and n goes from 2 to 4, the answer is 135. So the second summation is summation of xmn, the same, ano? But then we use different range for the rows and different range for the columns. So m starts from 7 and ends at 9. So range po yan. And n goes from 2 to 3. So let's find that in our two-way table. So 7 daw hanggang 9. So ito po yan. Kaso, nakasaad din dito na dapat sa ating column, nagsistart lang siya sa 2 hanggang 3. So, first column, second column, third column. So, ito lang po yun kasi 7 at saka 9. Ito po yung intersection. These are the data sets included in the summation notation. So, we have clearly understood this. Let's try to expand it. Again, starting with expanding the left-hand side. Ito po yun. So, 7 to 9. And then we know that this is the formula of the third xmn. We just need to substitute the values found in the range to the variable m. So summation, the first one, to expand the left-hand side, we have this one. Summation of x7n as n goes from 2 to 3 plus summation of x8n as n goes from 2 to 3. And lastly, summation of x9n as n goes from 2 to 3. So we have already expanded the left-hand side. Let's try to expand again the equation or the summation by expanding the right-hand side. So, di ba, sinishare ko sa inyo na para mas maintindihan natin yung double summation, we try to break them into pieces. And in breaking them into pieces, we use parentheses for us to fully grasp kung bakit siya naging ganito or bakit siya naging ganun. For us to derive with correct answers. So we're done plugging in the values for the rows. Let's try substituting the values for the columns. Again, yung columns natin, dalawa lang. Second column at saka third column. So the variable used for column is n. So lahat po ng may n ay papalitan natin ng range. So for the seventh row, we have here x7, 2 plus x7, 3. Kasi nga hanggang 3 lang. Plus for 8th row, x8, 2 plus x8, 3. Again po, uulitin ko na naman, in other literatures, they don't have comma. But the same meaning holds true for both formulas, or rather for both terms. Again, let me repeat, the same meaning holds true for both terms. For the 9th row, we have x9, 2 plus x9, 3. So we have already specified the location. Now we try to assign values. So x row 7, column 2 is 31. Kaya ito po, 31. Tapos x row 7, column 3 is 32. X row 8, column 2 is 45. X8, column 3 is 48. Tapos for the 9th row, the last row, x row 9, column 2 is 66. And x row 9, column 3 is 77. So 31 plus 32 is 63. 41 plus 48, it's 93. Tapos 66 plus 77 is 143. So 63 plus 93 plus 143, it's 299. So let's try to check the difference. Kung isi-switch lang natin yung mga variables natin gagamitin or iti-change lang natin yung range ng dataset na ating gagamitin. But the same dataset po or the same two-way table ang ating baseline information. So summation of xmn as m goes from 3 to 5 and n goes from 2 to 4, the answer is 135. So this region represented by the rectangle created with dashed lines are the datasets involved in the summation. So this is the expanded form. And for the other one, summation of xmn as m goes from 7 to 9 and n goes from 2 to 3, it's 299. So these are actually the areas included, or the data sets included, or the values, to be more specific, included in summation notation. And this is the expanded form. So is it difficult or challenging? Yeah, it may It may be somewhat confusing, but if you're going to practice this correctly, for sure you will have a good score in our midterm examination. So another question that may arise from the data set is this. What equation represents the mean of the area surrounded by this dashed line? So ito po yung ating dashed line. So ano daw po yung mean? Hence, mean, we need to know the number of sample. So let's try counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 samples are included in the summation. Kasi nga po, mean, the first thing to do is to know the equation for the summation notation and then divide it by the number of sample. So to answer that, there are actually 6 values. Sinabi ko na po kanina, from rows 3 to 4. Kasi nga, first row, second row, third row, at saka fourth row. Ang naka-enclose po sa dash lines ay ito. Kaya row 3 at saka row 4. Tapos yung column naman, first column, second column, at third column. Kaya 1 to 3. Okay? Kasi columns 1, 2, at saka 3. So to write the summation notation for this region, this is the answer. Summation of x, m, n, again po, you could use any other letter. Okay? Hindi lang m at saka hindi lang n. Hindi lang po siya limited. I am actually telling you these things, it's because most of the students would tell their classmates or their friends or their professors that hindi yan tinuro sa amin. Tapos, pagdating sa exam, iba yung lumabas. So, XMN lang po yung ginamit dito or XIJ lang po yung ginamit dito. Pero pagdating sa exam, pwede akong gumamit ng ibang letter. Kasi same lang naman sila ng meaning. Ibig sabihin, if you fully grasp the concept, then it's easier for you to find the solution, to arrive with an accurate answer. Pag baliktarin man yan, kung naintindihan mo, for sure, you would come up with the right answer. So this is the summation notation. Since we are asked of the mean, we need to divide this by 6. So this is the final answer. This is actually the equation that represents the dashed line, the values found in the dashed line, to be more specific or enclosed. The second one is, what equation represents the mean of the area surrounded by the dotted lines? So the one in red, okay? So yung nasa red po, ito, itong buong ito. So first is, we are going to count the number of values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, 21 values. So that is actually the number of samples included. So that's actually the number of samples included. So it's from rows 1 to 7. Let's try to count the row. So it's like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, at 7. For the columns naman, okay, so we have here the first column, the second column, the third column, the fourth column. So the enclosed region starts with the second column up to the fourth column. So to write this equation, it's summation of x, m, n, as m goes from 1 to 7, kasi nga row 1 hanggang 7, at saka n goes from 2 to 4, kasi yung included dito ay columns 2 to 4. So this is the summation notation representing this enclosed area. Remember, we were tasked to get the mean. So we need to divide this by the number of samples, and that's 21. So this is the final answer for this specific question. So if we try to compare the two, so here's the comparison. So this is the part represented by this highlighted or rather enclosed region. And this is the answer when asked of the equation representing this area. So please expect for questions like this during your midterm examination. So ayun po, learning videos are provided. I hope you will make good use of them because I also exerted efforts in doing this. So thank you and God bless. Happy weekends. See you on our next learning videos. I still need to provide learning videos for 4 remaining topics. Thank you and God bless.